me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
So dedicating my life to this industry is so meaningful, and I think that seeing smiling faces is what we all get every day at parks, at recreation centers. I say in Mebane that I love happy and healthy citizens. And I think if you're one that loves to serve others, this is the industry for you. It's so rewarding, and it's just extremely meaningful, and you really can meet some of the greatest people.
Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. Today we're sitting down with Aaron Davis, Director of Recreation and Parks for the City of Mebane, North Carolina. Aaron's journey is one of resilience, mentorship, and purpose. From his early days turning tennis courts into roller hockey rinks, to discovering a passion for recreation through golf, and eventually stepping into leadership roles that shaped entire communities, Aaron has lived the Parks and Rec calling every step of the way. In this episode, you'll hear how 4 key mentors shaped his career, how an unforgettable internship opened doors to incredible experiences, and the leadership lessons he now brings to his team in Mebane. Aaron shares what it means to build culture, lead with purpose, and create spaces where people can thrive. This is more than just a career story. It's a testament to the power of parks and recreation to shape lives and communities. Let's dive in.
Mebane. Okay. All right. We are live. This is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman with the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. We have Aaron Davis from, you just told me how to pronounce it and it just flew out of my head.
you and everybody else. City of Mebane.
Yeah. Mebane, North Carolina. But before we get started, we have something very special. I think this is the first time we've ever presented this. Or actually, I presented it yesterday, but you're the first guest that we've had it on. So this is something we made. We made a promo for the industry. So the whole industry can use this. This is all about y'all, about why you would want to consider parks and recreation as a career path. Why would you want to dedicate your life to something like public service or green spaces or athletics or something to do with serving the local community? And so this is kind of a summary of everything that we've learned after doing 239 episodes about the industry. And so we made this little 2-minute promo. So y'all share it, get it out there. This is a gift from us to y'all. So here we go.
Every career is a choice, but few careers let you touch lives. Not once in a while, but every single day. Step into a park on a Saturday morning. You'll hear children laughing on the soccer field, families gathering for a picnic, seniors walking the trails, finding health and friendship. And behind every smile, every memory is a Parks and Rec professional. We don't just mow fields, we grow confidence in young athletes. We don't just build playgrounds, we create safe spaces where childhood thrives. We don't just plan events, we design moments that anchor generations. Think of the coach who teaches patience, the director who champions equity, the staff member who sees potential in a child no one else believed in. Every day, Parks and Rec professionals shape character, preserve beauty, and strengthen community. And the path isn't easy. Budgets are tight, resources stretched thin, but the reward, unmatched. Because what you give comes back in legacy, in healthier communities, in lives forever changed. So why dedicate your life to parks and recreation? Because here, your work never ends. It lives on, in laughter echoing across playgrounds, in green spaces preserved for the next century, in the young professionals rising to lead tomorrow. This is not just a career, it's a calling, it's a legacy, it's Parks and Recreation, a message from the Parks and Rec community.
All right. So great job, Chris, on making that. He's one of our very talented video editors that works for us full time as we try to build out this media company for the Parks and Rec industry. And our next one that I'm going to play, you like that?
Yeah,
I thought it was very
chills.
powerful. Yeah,
Very
me
good.
too. Me too. It's a great career path. I encourage any youth that are looking at this or volunteering or working at some summer camp that you may want to consider putting your whole life behind this because it's quite rewarding. And lastly, we are looking for strategic partners to help us co-create some of the content, some of the very unique, nuanced content, so we can create weekly shows for the Parks and Rec industry and provide value to them. So I'll play this real quick, and then we'll come back and start our conversation with Aaron.
At DPRS Media Co., we believe Parks and Recreation isn't just a service, it's the heartbeat of our communities. We exist to honor the people, the vendors, and the leaders shaping the future of Parks and Rec. Our mission is simple: to tell their stories, highlight their careers, and celebrate their essential work. Our vision is bold: to be the trusted hub where leaders, vendors, and communities unite, inspiring innovation, sharing wisdom, and building a stronger, healthier nation. Through over 220 live shows and 6 weekly series, the Leadership Series, Facility Maintenance, Young Professionals Network, Youth Sports Mastery, The Rec Room, and Growing Leaders, plus our industry-leading newsletter, the weekly Parks and Rec Post, we're building a media platform made for the Parks and Rec community. And now, we're inviting strategic partners to co-create this story with us. As a partner, you'll gain 12 hours of annual live exposure with custom shows highlighting your expertise, polished 60-second promos refined for maximum impact, year-round visibility with dozens of replays across our media network, premium features in our newsletter, and amplified social media reach across LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. This is your chance to educate, inspire, and lead while connecting directly with the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. This is DPRS Media Co. Let's build the future of Parks and Rec together.
All right, so now we're back with Aaron Davis. How are you? How did your Labor Day go for you?
Great. It was a nice, relaxing weekend away from the hustle. So it was a wonderful thing. Had a great weekend. How about you?
Fantastic. All right, so we did. I cut grass and we barbecued. It was a very slow, lazy, very uncommon, relaxed weekend for me, and I appreciated it and needed it. But yeah, let's go back all the way to the beginning of time when Aaron was growing up as a young man. Who were you in high school? Maybe tell us a little bit about your early days and your early part of your journey.
Yeah, the journey is it's a whole story. I mean, I was the kid, before cell phones and all the things, where we all wanted to recreate together. And I was the kid who made all the phone calls. We'd wake up early in the summers and it was like, all right, where are we going to meet? I grew up in a town of 1,700 people in the northwest part of Illinois. Very, very small, but we all knew each other. We all wanted to hang out together. We had this old college campus. It was Shimer College, and it somehow got moved to New York sometime, I don't know, in the 80s maybe. But so we had this cool college campus in our itty bitty town, and that's where we did a lot of our recreation type activities. We had tennis courts that we turned into roller hockey. We had a quad that we turned into a baseball field. We used the dorms in left in right field as like Camden Yards with a big, building to hit home runs over and things like that. So, but I was the kid that made those calls and was like, hey, where are we going first? Whose house are we going to go to for lunch? Then we're going to go to the pool, and then we're going to do something else later.
I love it.
So that's kind of how it started, maybe. But I was an athlete.
So you were like the social organizer.
Yeah,
You were like the social butterfly that got everybody together.
Right, right. And it's funny because I maybe was like that, and then I kind of fell off and became a little bit of an introvert, and then kind of became a little
Hmm.
bit more extra, as some would say now. But my first job, I was 14 years old. My parents said, "Hey, you got to go get a job. You can't just play sports all day." And so my dad hooked me up at the high school he taught at and coached at. And so my first job was doing maintenance, cleaning classrooms over the summer. I remember a 100-degree day where I tarred a roof. Just things that I didn't think I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and
Mm.
through that, I learned some really valuable skills. I learned how to mow. I learned how to weed eat. I learned how to work on toilets and plumbing and all that, strip and wax floors. They even threw me. Our high school was built in like 1908, so they even threw me through walls. And I remember this is when like internet was coming out. They tied Ethernet cords to my belt loop, and I would walk through walls, like in between walls, to
Mm.
different classrooms and feed the Ethernet cord through to them. So I was kind of used to do whatever they needed, but it was a huge learning opportunity for me. I even went through some times where everybody was picking on me because there was a lot of teachers, that knew me and knew my dad really well, and so they would pick on me a little bit. I was just a skinny little kid, and at one point I got a little bit defiant and just decided to eat my lunch in the gym and shoot hoops rather than hang out with everybody else. Right, so
Mm.
I grew as a person. I grew from skills, but I definitely didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. So thankfully, my sister met her now husband. And one thing I'll tell you, Craig, like in my career, there's really been four key people that have helped progress my career. And one of them, and I'll talk about him a little bit later, is my brother-in-law, Ron Schneider. He is now a director in Missouri. Um, and I'm excited to see him at the national conference for the first time in a while. So that's really cool. But Ron's parents lived at we'll call it like a weekend community. They had a golf course, and they knew I was big into golf. So his dad helped me get a job there, and that really is how I got introduced to what I would call recreation and parks. Um, the other or second person that helped the career would be Tom Inchauskis, who was my first boss at the golf course. He was the head pro. He had moved from Chicago to our little area in Illinois, and we kind of hit it off. It was like one of those stories that was too good to be true. He was left-handed in terms of writing and eating, but he played golf right-handed, and I'm the exact same way. Um, we somehow played the same golf clubs. Like it was just like too good to be true. So he kind of pulled me, put his arm around me and said, "Hey kid, I'm gonna help you out here." So not only did I get to gas carts and pick the range, but I also got to spend time in the pro shop and learned how to deal with
Mm.
people and scheduling. The whole shop aspect, the money part. Like that was really my introduction to recreation and parks. And crazy enough.
How old were you
So I was 16, and I think I worked
then?
for Tom off and on from 16 to about 21.
Mm.
I did spend 1 year at college doing maintenance again, but it was, I was with a bunch of my buddies, and it was free housing and free food. Plus, he got paid to do maintenance. So I was like, I'll do this for a summer. Um, but yeah, Tom was awesome, and he actually lives pretty close by in Fayetteville. And one of the reasons that I went into Parks and Rec and not into the golf industry is because he moved from Illinois to North Carolina. I kind of lost my
Mm.
mentor along the way. Um, but that was kind of how it got started. I really think the people part was the most important. I got to deal with the kind customer, and I got to deal with the tough to deal with customer, I guess you could say.
Mm.
And really, I saw him interact. There's some pretty funny stories about a time where we had an event. We had previously booked some tea times, and some guys showed up in an RV that we had erased from the tee sheet that we thought we had called and said, "Hey, we have to cancel your tea time." But it was a somebody with the same last name as a member, right? And here they can't come on this like journey across America to play all these golf courses, and their tee time was canceled, and so we had to deal with that. So it's kind of an interesting story, but
Oh man.
yeah. So I met a lot of cool people. I also, in high school and as I was doing that, I was big into sports. I played basketball,
Yeah.
played on the golf team, and I ran, and those were kind of my things. And Tom actually. Almost, we talk about this all the time. He almost coached my high school basketball team. We had an opening, and I guess applied. But yeah, so golf was kind of an introduction to recreation and parks, and
yeah. Now, what was your first full-time job into Parks and Recreation, or did you out of college come into that, or what's your journey into a full-time position?
So that stems from college. So I'm doing this golf thing, and I decide, okay, I'm going to go to Northern Illinois. It was kind of the biggest school that was close by, maybe an hour and 15 minutes away from my hometown. And when I got to Northern, I was like, wow, this is a big place. And, I'm just a number. Nobody really cares about me. I was used to such a small town environment. And so I played intramural basketball like every night. That was my thing. During the day, I'd go to the rec center, I'd play ball. I actually probably got better in the 1 year that I was there at basketball than I had in high school, right? Like that was a big growth opportunity. So I had some buddies at this little school in Iowa that were like, hey, we're losing a lot of guys. You should come transfer. You can probably play. And so I did that. Transferred Grandview College at the time, now Grandview University, and went there to play basketball. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. We had another school in our conference that lost their accreditation. So as some of their students came and basketball players, I kind of got pushed out. I at 5'10", about $130 at that time. It wasn't quite the body for a basketball player in college, but it opened up every door that I could have imagined. And not only did I try out and make the college golf team, but I also got started, serving with the Student Activity Council. Through that, I met the Dean of Students, and not playing basketball, I was like, I missed that part of my life. So why do we not have intramurals, which was such a big part of my life at Northern Illinois? And they said, well, we've tried this a couple times. It's just never really turned out to work. Like maybe we do it for a semester and then people would get tired of it or whatever. And I said, I got you. Like I can do this. Let's figure out a way to fund it, and then I will run intramural sports as a student. And he said, okay, I'll fund 50% of your budget in my budget, and you have to raise the other 50%. So, I was like, how am I going to do this? Had never had any experience with it. So I went over to nearby Drake University, talked to their intramural director, got into like the NERSA stuff, and they kind of showed me the ropes a little bit. But along the way, I realized that the student government at Grandview decided where the student government funds went, obviously. So I said, well, I need to run and be on student government. So I did. I won. And I essentially funded the other side of my budget with student government funds, which also came out of the dean's budget. So we made that work, and it helped us get going. So, that gave me the opportunity to plan, organize, lead sports. I also officiated every sport that we had, and we just started with like flag football, basketball, and volleyball. I got spat on.
Your first time officiating? Oh yeah. Was that your first time being an official?
I think I did bases during baseball, maybe like late in high school, but I didn't love doing bases. It seemed like a lot of pressure as a young kid, but yeah, this is just, I just kind of did it, right? I was like, well, if I'm going to do this as a work study job, like I need to learn on the job. So officiated like a co-ed flag football league, and I literally got spat on, and that was my first time I ever ejected somebody from a game, of course, like a college or a co-student, like here I am, same age and all the things, and I'm like, all right, you're out of here. And I did the whole like arm thing, kicked him out of the game. Never forget that day. But then we got into basketball, and then volleyball. Was pretty cool as well. We had a volleyball team of all soccer players, and they opted to use just their feet and their head to play volleyball against the other team. So, it also gave me the opportunity to learn how to adapt and adjust and try to make things the best for everyone, right? So that was neat. That led, with the student government thing, I just got to know a lot of people. So leading into the full-time career, though, I had one of the most incredible internships that anybody could have, and the story is pretty cool. But I was in maybe sport management, like a 300 level class, and we had a speaker come in, gentleman named Tom McDonald, and Tom was just talking about his job, and I think about like almost blacking out while he was talking because I was so into what he was saying. But then I started to daydream about having his job because it was so cool. And Tom had essentially 4 jobs. He assigned basketball for the Iowa games, which was like an amateur but adult like sports festival throughout the state of Iowa. But he was the basketball official assigner. He was the commissioner for the Iowa Community College Athletic Conference. He ran Tri-Star basketball camps, and he was production manager for Championship Books and Video. So he's talking about all this and all the things that he's done, and I'm just like, wow, I want this guy's job. So he kind of closes out, as I tuned back into him, he closes out with, I've never had an intern from Grandview. I've only always had people from Iowa State. Their office was based in Ames. And I was like, well, that's going to be me. So he leaves early, and the class was kind of upstairs at our rec center, but all the coaches' offices were downstairs in that same building. And so he leaves like 10 minutes before class is over, and they let us out of class. And I remember running down the steps, running into the office area and asking like my professors, like, is Mr. McDonald still here? And they're like, he just left. He's out in the parking lot. And I sprinted out the door and literally put my arm in his car door to keep him from closing it. And I was out of breath, and he's laughing. I was like, Mr. McDonald, I want to be that first intern, right? He couldn't stop laughing. He's like, just send me your resume. We'll see how it goes. I don't think he was sure of it.
I love that
point, right?
That's cool.
And so I sent him the resume the second I got back, and he called me 5 minutes later. He's like, you're in. With that much enthusiasm, he's like, you were out of breath getting to me. He's like, you're in. And I was like, okay, so what now? And he's like, well, we got all these things that I want you to do. And it really was just going to start working for the community college office. And so that's where I learned like how to book officials for games. And I attended, basketball games, and he would just call me. I think he liked hanging out, but he would just call me randomly and say, hey, we're going to like Kirkwood for a basketball game tonight. Do you want to come? And if I didn't have anything going on at school, or, could golf practice would end or whatever, I'd meet them. And, he would get a kick out of it because I would like commentate the games as we were watching them, and I would do all the stats for him. So he took a liking to me, and was like, do you want to do other things like other than work for the college conference? And I was like, I'll do anything you ask me to do. Like, what do you need? And so he started sending me places on the weekends to help with these basketball camps. And then, as the internship was quote unquote ending, it really started. And he assigned me to officiate basketball at the Iowa games that next summer. And then we started taking trips all over the country. And this is something that he hadn't done with interns in the past, but he really got me on the video side, like the production side of Championship Books and Video. Over the years, I continued to do this even after college, but in college, we took like a day trip to Spokane, Washington, and had a really fun experience with Mark Few and the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Just a day trip. You got on the plane, you flew out there, you shot a video, and then you were back home. We did that a couple
Mhm.
times. I remember flying with his son one time to Cincinnati when Bobby Huggins was there. You know, Hug has a tendency to get a little intense, and he asked Tom at one point if they did books along with the videos, right? And the company was called Championship Books and Video. And Tom's son is like on the other side of the room playing a video game or something, and he yells out to Coach Hug. He's like, "Duh, that's why they call it Championship Books and Video." We got a little bit
Ah,
scared, but he took it well, and it was within stride. But I got to meet all kinds of coaches. We had a trip with Bobby Knight. Um, after after college, and after I moved to North Carolina, I got to attend a lot of practices and shoot videos at Duke in North Carolina. One cool moment with Coach K at Duke was they had a big snowstorm in Iowa, and they were set to come and um, shoot just like what I would call a Barbara Walters type video, cameraman, interviewer, interviewee with Coach in his office, and they called me and they were like, "We can't get out of Des Moines. Like, we need you. Like, can you please take the day off of work?" And this is after, I had a full time job and everything, and was able to make it happen. And I spent about 4 hours, just the three of us in Coach K's office, just peppering him with questions so that they could add them to one of the videos. And so,
Hmm.
as a lifelong Duke fan, that was quite the day for me, and really got to know Coach K on a different level. So that was really cool. But I I don't want to leave out the Carolina fans in this. Also got to spend time with current coach Hubert Davis. I rebounded for him one early morning at the Dean Dome and saw him miss like 3 out of 100 3-pointers. Spent
wow.
Yeah, he was unbelievable even post career. And um, Roy Williams is quite the human, and even got to spend some time with Dean Smith while he was there. And I remember being so nervous eating with Dean Smith because he ordered BLTs from some famous place in Chapel Hill, and I don't really care for tomatoes, so like a BLT sounded cool, but in theory, I really wasn't going to eat the tomatoes, and came in this well wrapped tinfoil BLT. And I remember like building a wall of tinfoil between Coach and I, and like sliding the tomatoes off and kind of wrapping them up so that he couldn't see that the tomato was sliding off, because I didn't want to offend him. But um,
Nice.
there's numerous other stories, from the time. And the last one I'll tell is just a typical Bobby Knight story. But I had mentioned that we spent some time with him down in Lubbock when he was at Texas Tech, and fast forward many years later, uh, I'm riding in the back of the car with Tom McDonald, and we're heading to a video shoot with Jenny Levy, UNC women's lacrosse coach. And Tom had 3 phones because he had all these different jobs. And so I'm sitting in the back seat, and Tom's on the phone talking about community college stuff. And he takes his other phone as it's ringing and throws it in the back seat. And basically, that was assigned to answer it. And when I look at the phone, it's Coach Knight. And
Hmm.
so I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So I flip open the phone, and I'm like, hey, Coach Knight, Tom McDonald's on the other line. This is Aaron Davis. How can I help you? And he turns it real quickly and says, "Wait, are you the scrawny little intern that came down a couple of years ago?" Yada yada. And I was like, "Yes, sir, yes, sir." And he's like, he's in his own language. He said basically, "What are you still doing with him? Shouldn't you have a real job?" Kind of a deal. And I've got the phone like out to the side because he's like yelling. And I was like, "Yes, sir. I'm just still helping and all the things, and I do have a job and all the things." And he's like, "Well, that's good." And he said, "I'm just confused why anybody would have precedent over me. Like, how is he not talking to me?" Kind of a thing. I'm paraphrasing, but you get the gist of how that conversation went with Coach Knight. And I said, don't worry, I'll have him call you back right away, and hung up and took a deep breath. And I was glad that was over. But yeah, so that was kind of the college and into the internship, and Tom really trusted me to do some cool things. I essentially ran the community college softball World Series without his help. He said, go to Fort Dodge, run this. You know what you're doing. I trust you. I've got some other things to do. And, you know, one key thing that I learned, Craig, from him, and I talk to my team about this all the time, is that the check-in from like a supervisor is not there to say, I don't trust you. It's there to just get clarity of the trust that's already been built. And that's something that we talk about a lot, because I do that. I'll check in, but Tom would do that to me all the time. And I first got offended. You know, he'd call me. I remember being in Muscatine, Iowa at the regional baseball tournament. And everything was going great, and called me, and he just was like, hey, how are things going? You know, I haven't heard from you, yada, yada. And I was like, it's good, but like, you don't need to call me. Like, I'll call you if something bad happens. And he had to stop me and say, I just need you to tell me that it's going great, and then I'll let you be. And so that we talk about that a lot here in Mebane. Like, I'll check in on you. It doesn't mean I don't trust you. It just means that I need that clarity and know that like everything's great, because I'm here to help if it's not. But I love to hear that it's going well. But so
well, I wanted to go ahead and play. We have a youth sports mastery show and a YPN. The YPN show is about the Young Professionals Network, where we talk a lot about internship programs. So as we close in your internship story, I just wanted to promote every Friday we have a Young Professionals Network show, 12 noon Eastern. And so we'll play a little promo for that. And then tomorrow we have a youth sports mastery show at 1:30 p.m. Eastern that Aaron Locks, he's the host of that show. So we'll play these two, and then we'll come right back and finish up our conversation with Aaron.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content, we elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics and powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
Are you ready to lead the next generation of Parks and Rec? Whether you're a student, intern, or rising leader, welcome to the Young Professionals Network by DPRS Media Co. Our mission? To empower early career professionals in parks and recreation through mentorship, visibility, and real-world leadership development. Our vision? A national network of passionate, prepared, and purpose-driven leaders who shape the future of public service. Starting now. Powered by the Daily Parks and Rec Show, YPN gives you access to exclusive interviews, career-building resources, behind-the-scenes content, and live events, all created by and for the next wave of Parks and Rec professionals. Learn from seasoned directors, build your brand, get involved with national conversations that matter. Whether you're in youth sports, facilities, programming, or policy, YPN is your launchpad. Young Professionals Network, your career, your community, your story.
All right. So if you haven't caught either one of those 2 weekly shows, the Youth Sports Master Show is on Thursdays, 1:30, and then our Friday show is Young Professional Network, 12 noon Eastern each week. Okay. So finally, you're moving towards getting a full-time job into Parks and
Yes, sir.
Recreation.
I
What does
know
that look like?
it's been quite the journey. So
Mhm.
college is ending, and I had quite a few opportunities, but nothing that just spoke to me. Tom McDonald had offered me a position with the community colleges and the coaching video company, and it just wasn't going to be enough money to live. Like I wasn't sure where I would
Mhm.
live, how I would pay for it. It just wasn't a lot. And again, most of the employees that they had that were full time were kind of already living in that area or were from that area. Um, and even Grandview had offered me like a position where I could probably live on campus for free and be an assistant coach for both basketball and golf and work with the SID. I ended up being the statistician for the basketball team, both men's and women's, throughout college, even after I didn't play on the team. So I had like a lot of connections there, but it just didn't feel right to try to coach like kids that I had been in school with. I just didn't know that it would jive. So anyway, everything happens for a reason. I remember sitting in my house with my roommates, probably the June after I graduated, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And lo and behold, my brother-in-law calls me. And he had just moved from the Chicagoland area to Freeport, Illinois, where he was the recreation superintendent at the time. And his athletic supervisor had just quit, like walked out the door and said, "Peace, I'm out." And he knew I just graduated. He knew I had done the intramural thing. He knew I was so into sports and all that. And he basically said, "I need somebody tomorrow. We'll hire you part-time and give you like a 6-month stint. And if you do well, we'll give you the opportunity to apply for the full-time position. We'll see where that goes." So without promising anything, I was like, I can live at home. It's only 30 minutes from my parents' house. And this will probably be the most financially sound way for me to start a career in something. Still wasn't sure I wasn't going to golf, but with Tom moving to North Carolina, that kind of was out the door. So I was like, hey, let's give it a try. And so I really spent about 2 years shadowing Ron. I talked about the 4 people that were really influential. The first 2 were the Toms, and now we get into Ron. But Ron was super helpful. He wasn't just my supervisor. He was also a best friend. He would take me to all the meetings and do all the things with me, and he really supported like the growth of my career. I had a lot to build on from my past, in college and such. So he didn't necessarily have to teach me so much. He was just helping me grow as a professional. And it was a lot of hours in Illinois. If you don't know the difference between the park district model in Illinois and the rec and parks model in North Carolina, it is a huge difference. That was a huge change for me when I moved to North Carolina. But I ran adult sports leagues. Again, I had that officiating background, so I could step in at any time. I even did a little high school basketball officiating while I was there. But I also got introduced to aquatics. I got introduced to special events. We had an unfortunate thing happen where one of our full-time special populations director got sick, and Ron and I kind of had to step in and take over her role. And he basically said, "You take Special Olympics, I'll take the special pops programs." And so I got into, not only was I coaching the Special Olympics, but I was also going on trips with them and doing all the organization. I remember a gentleman named Bruce who worked at Menards, which would be kind of like your Lowe's Home Improvement in the Midwest. And he was like the lumber guy. And so he was super strong. And I was like, have you ever thought about Special Olympic, like weightlifting? Like that's a thing. And so we got him into that. and he did very well. And then I actually, like, one of my most proud moments as a human being was taking a group of Olympians down to Illinois State for the state basketball tournament, and
Hmm.
we actually won the like our level for Special Olympics, and seeing them get their medals and what it meant to them to receive those. It was so touching and such a great experience. But uh, we got the special pops, and then we went into special events. We won an award for the Fusion Festival, which was like an off the wall idea that a community member came up with to blend a skate park with NASCAR and a Mountain Dew chugging contest. And this is back in the MySpace time. I'm not sure all the listeners will know about MySpace, but
Yeah.
um, that was like the hub of finding music, and so I did a lot of trying to find bands that hadn't been signed that were really good to come to these events, and we got a lot of them for free. So the Fusion Fest
Hmm.
was a really cool thing that we did there. But yeah, so 2 years in Freeport, Illinois, at the Park District there, got a real introduction. Um, then I didn't really meet, but I started dating a former, I guess, friend of mine from high school, and that went to college, and ended up getting married and moving to North Carolina. And um, God, what a great decision it was, because we kind of went back and forth. Are we going to stay in Illinois, or am I going to stay in Illinois, or am I going to move to North Carolina? Being a Duke fan, I figured not bad, and we went to a Duke game before that decision was made, and that kind of sealed the deal for me to want to
It'll
move.
do it.
But yeah, yeah. Never thought I'd step into Cameron, but as I mentioned before, I have been there and behind the scenes now a couple times. But um, it was really an interesting time. I was given the opportunity to be a stay-at-home dad. It just didn't seem like the right thing for me. So started to apply for jobs, and I probably went 50 job applications in and got a couple of interviews, but nothing like hit. And then
Wow.
one week I got, yeah, it was really, it was interesting because, you know, I thought, man, I've made a name for myself in Illinois. It shouldn't be tough to get anything in North Carolina, and it really was. Like, I grinded, did, filled out so many things, and went to so many interviews, and finally one week I got 3 job offers in a week, and um, made a decision to work about, I don't know, 45 minutes away from our home. And the job was brand new, and I was essentially brought in to blend 2 parent-run organizations within a county, and kind of take the best of what one did and the best of what the others did, going through rules and such, and run their sports and all their recreation programs. So we did special events, we did sports, but I'll never forget. Um, my first day on the job there, I was in like an old schoolhouse that they had just made into an office, and the former president of one of those parent-run groups came in, sat down, was a little bit upset that this had been created, and he essentially said, "Everyone in this town can't wait for you to fail, because we will take it
Oh,
back
wow.
the second that you fail." And I'll never forget this. Um, and I looked him in the eye and I said, "Buckle up. I'm not going to fail, and I promise that we're going to give good experiences to these kids, right?" And the long story short on that is, I remember him crying when I announced that I was leaving that position. After, I think I was there for about 2 years, and we built
Yeah.
a great youth football program, and it really was. It was another growth opportunity for me. Another thing I remember about that position and moving to North Carolina, I talked about how hard it was for me to even get a job. So once I got this job, I started getting involved with the state association, and um, we have a athletics group that used to run state tournaments, soccer, basketball, baseball, stuff like that. And we were at like my very first meeting. They were trying to find people to be the coordinator for basketball, or the coordinator for baseball, who's going to run these tournaments essentially from the administrative side. So basketball came up. Of course, that was my passion. And I just raised my hand and said, hey, I'll do it. Nobody knew who I was at the time. And essentially was told, you haven't been here long enough to understand or know or have a knowledge base of what we do. So we're going to kind of pass on you. That did not sit well with me, Craig. I knew that I could do it, right? So anyway, I ended up talking to the chair of that group after the meeting and said, listen, nobody else stepped up. I promise I can do this. And he ended up, talking to the powers that be, and I ended up not only taking that role at that moment, but also working up, and I eventually chaired that group for probably longer than I would like to admit throughout the year. So again, felt a little knocked down when I first moved to North Carolina, but I tell you, these people, these are my people, and this is my place, and there's so many, especially here in North Carolina, that have really helped me grow as a professional. But the I don't want to forget the last person of the four that really got me going, and I'll get into some leadership things if that's okay. But when I left that job and moved to Graham, North Carolina for my next position, again, I wasn't their number one choice, but I think at the end of the day, I was the right choice, and went there to run athletics as well. But I had been there, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And had done some really good things, I think, in Graham, and was at a friend's wedding. And somebody from my hometown back in Illinois was there. And he came up to me and he said, hey, I'm looking for an internship. I'm getting my master's right now. Like, would you have anything? He's like, I've looked at things in North Carolina. He was still living in Illinois at the time. And, I'm at a wedding. It's probably 10:30 at night. I'm very agreeable to everything that's being said to me. And of course I was like, yeah, I'll find you an internship. Like, no problem. Completely forgot about it, all the things. And like 3 months later, as his semester was ending, I get a phone call in my office. Hey, this is Chris. Just wanted to know when I was going to start that internship. Whew. I forgot about it, Greg, like completely. Right. And so I didn't tell him at the time. He knows the story now, but I had to hang up with him, quickly call my boss at the time and say, I made a boo-boo. I need money in this position. Like, I know we don't have anything, but like, please, like, I think this will be a good thing for us. And they agreed to it. It was a great thing for the city of Graham and for me personally. So Chris came in as an intern, and I'd had a couple of interns at this point, but he was the first one that was like, I can do all these things and I can make what you're doing now better. And I'm going to teach you some things along the way. Right. And what a concept that, an intern is going to come in and actually do some teaching. Right. So I've got my part that I'm teaching him. He's got his part that he's teaching me. And that's really where we got into the leadership and the culture part. I was really proud of Chris. We had an athletic director's workshop while he was here interning, and I was talking about speaking at this conference, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And we decided on like tech and rec, like how can you enhance your athletic events by using technology? Just playing music, having an announcer, like all the stuff. And so Chris and I did that while he was an intern. We were having a hard time getting professionals to speak, right? Let alone having an intern out there. So it was really cool. Chris left us for a little bit, went to Milwaukee to take a job in like sports hospitality sales. And as it was happening, our director in Graham was looking to retire, and we were going to have a position open. So I called him and I said, hey, there's a program position that's going to be open. I think you should come back and apply for it. You'd be good at it. And he was like, no. He's like, I'm an athletics guy at heart. Like, I'm just not interested in that. And so I said, okay, hung up. And then I had a little debrief in my mind, and I was like, you know what, I can do that job, and we're better with him than without him, right? The whole Tom Cruise thing.
Yeah.
And so I called him back and I said, okay, what if I went and took that job? Would you take my job? He was like, I would definitely apply for it, right? So that all happened. I moved over and started doing programs, and again, that just heightened my career. I have been in athletics for most of my time in North Carolina, and now I was moving into the programs and special events, and gave Chris the opportunity to shine and really take what I had built in athletics and make it better, right? All while he's handing me these books and he's making me read, and it's all about like leadership and culture, and a lot of the things that he brought to me just like resonated in my body, and I was like, yes, like these stories are what make me me, and they just are amazing. Like, and I want to share them now with other people because they're so inspiring to me. So I'll share some of those with you if that's okay. I think these are cool, and maybe others would want to read more about him. But the first one that he did, there was a book by Tim Grover, who was Michael Jordan's trainer, called Relentless. And in that,
awesome.
do you know that one? Okay, great. So in that book, there's a phrase, and it's in my signature in my email: be obsessed with greatness, right? And that's what I live every day, Craig. Like, that is me. I wake up, and it's not a sluggish get out of bed and all the things. Like, I'm up and I'm ready to go. And a lot of that came from that quote itself, but also the coolers, closers, and cleaners. And I'll give a brief little description of those, but I'm sure if you've read the book, but the coolers, those are the people who, they stay in their comfort zone. They don't take a whole lot of risks, right? And you can think everybody about your team and who these people might be. You got your closers who, they're skilled and they're confident, but when the crucial moment comes, they kind of want to take a back seat. Okay. And then you get to the cleaners, and these are the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants of the world. I would put like Steph Curry in there for going basketball. They are people who don't necessarily have to think, they just do. And that's the mantra of being a cleaner, is what you do so well that you're just doing it on a regular basis. And when the ball gets in your hand and it's time to make a big play, you just do it. So I love that one. Again, that's from Relentless. Another one that hits home with me, I have an oar next to me. I don't think you can see it on camera, but I created some oars for my team, and that goes into the row the boat mantra. And that's PJ Fleck. He's now the head football coach at Minnesota. He was on the Northern Illinois football team when I was there. My one year as a freshman, I remember he drove this old beater car, license plate Hands 82, as a wide receiver. But he has had some things go on in his life, and he developed the row the boat, and you need three things to row the boat. You need the oar, which represents the energy that one brings. You need the boat. It symbolizes the sacrifice that we're all making to get to a goal, right? And then the compass, which represents the direction. And so those three things, if you think about a team and how that kind of molds together, with the connection to Northern Illinois and just loving that idea, right? Or just row the boat, like, let's go. Like, we all need to be in this together. We had oars made and had them all nice and Mebane branded when I first got here, and gave them out to most of our team. So that one was really cool. And then a couple other like kind of cool stories. One I tell quite often, and this one hit me so hard because I really truly believe, Craig, that like a team is not just about its leadership. It's not about those who do a certain thing. Everybody matters to the goal, and no matter what your role is, it matters as much as anybody else, right? So the story goes, I think this is 1962. John F. Kennedy is at NASA for some big meeting, right? And he walks in the door and he sees a janitor. The janitor is mopping the floor. The president goes to a meeting. He's sitting down. He's got his coffee, and all of a sudden, goes to put it down on the table, misses it, hits the ledge. Coffee spills everywhere. Janitor's in the room mopping it up, and he goes to get Mr. President another cup of coffee. So they go through the whole day at NASA, and the janitor's there, kind of near the door again. He's doing his thing when JFK is leaving, and he walks out the door, kind of stops, turns around, goes back in, looks at the janitor, and said, "Sir, I just want to thank you for your service." He's like, "You're the best janitor that I've ever seen." And the janitor stops and says, "Well, thank you, Mr. President, but I'm not just a janitor. I help put people on the moon." Right. And so the idea that this quote unquote janitor was helping people get on the moon, just that kind of blew my mind as leaders at every level, we all matter and everybody's role matters in the big picture. So I have,
great message.
I've always loved that one. But two other things I want to mention is, I put a huge importance with my team on finding time for yourself and recreating yourself. I do that a lot.
Oh, that's huge.
With golf. Like, I'll just take a random day off. I've got 4 kids, and it's hard for me to have weekends. I'm not like your weekend warrior golfer. I'm more of like, hey, I'll take a Tuesday off or a Thursday off, whatever it may be. But I'll hit you with a really cool story about taking time off and what it can do when all the stars align. But Pinehurst Resort is about an hour and 30 minutes or so from Mebane. And one week I was just having a rough week at work and said, I'm going to take a day. I'm going to go down and play the par 3 course down there. I'll try to get a tee time, and you can kind of play it multiple times over the course of the day. So instead of paying the lucrative amount of money to play Pinehurst number 2 or whatever, you can play this pretty easily. So anyway, I get down there early. I play. It's a 9-hole course. I play the first 9, and I get back to the starter shack, and I'm like, "Hey, can I go again?" And the guy's like, "Well, you can, but we have this whole conglomerate of Toyota GM dealers or presidents of dealerships here. So they're gonna do the Cradle, and then they're gonna go play another course." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll take my time." And as I do that, I'm getting to the first tee, and I hear this commotion to my left, and I see a ball flying in, and everybody's super excited, and I see a ball lip out of the hole, and it was just cool. I kind of smiled and was like, I have made a hole-in-one here at the Cradle one time, but that would be neat for somebody who's flown in from all over, from somewhere in the country to do this. So put a ball down on the first tee, take my shot, first hole, one bounce, rolls right in the hole. So all these Toyota people are around. Yeah. So all these people are around, and they're going crazy because it's like an amphitheater there at the Cradle. And so it goes in. The guy who planned all their trips just goes berserk. I mean, he runs from the starter shack down to the first green. He's got his hands up and he's waving and doing all the things. And he's like, "Give me your phone. I want to take pictures." And you got to do all the things, He's like, "Oh, that other one almost went in for that guy. I'm so happy for you." And it was just a really cool moment. So I walked to the second hole, my heart's still racing. And I put down a ball. And I hit a shot, and I thought I hit a good one on the second hole, but I was sure I flew it over the green. And I was like, whatever, hey, just made a hole-in-one. This is cool. Put down another ball, hit it short into this bunker, and there's a little knob between the bunker and where the hole was that day. So when I walked up to the green, I looked over it, and I do not see a ball. And I look over, and the guy the guy that had planned the trip for the Toyota guys, he yells out, "You made another one." And everybody looked back again. I didn't see it go in the hole. but apparently he did, and was like, he was like, I just wanted to see what your reaction would be when you couldn't find it. And so again, he ran over, we took some more pictures. So um, anyway, so yeah, back-to-back hole-in-ones, was pretty cool. So I finished the round, and there's guys in suits there. They're like, we need you to stay. We want to do this little interview with you. Your name's going to be on the leaderboard on this like little hall of fame we have set up. So quite the day, but just goes to show, like, when you take time for yourself, like, kind of cool things can happen, right? So
Yeah.
as I say, and I have said many times to others, what we do as service people to our citizens, it's not a job,
Mm.
Craig. It's a lifestyle, and so within that lifestyle, we have to find time for ourselves. And
Yeah.
from a leadership standpoint, I think that it's key to, like, allow those that you supervise and others to be them and be themselves and go do what they love to do. Make sure the job
Yeah.
gets done well, but give them that time. So, um,
Yeah.
that was a
Now, I
that was a
wanted
cool
to,
story. Yeah,
before we close out our show, 'cause we're coming
hmm
up to the end, but I wanted you to give a little
yeah,
testimony. We have a little tradition where we say, if there's a classroom of undecided college kids or high school kids that don't know what they're gonna do with the rest of their life, what's your kinda sales pitch testimony to the industry of why you would wanna dedicate your life to this industry?
So dedicating my life to this industry is so meaningful, and I think that seeing smiling faces is what we all get every day at parks, at recreation centers, during programs, kids that, have never been able to experience a sport or a program, or even the adults that come and get to see their kids do that. So I say in Mebane that I love happy and healthy citizens. And I think if you're one that loves to serve others, this is the industry for you. And if you really buy into the whole grind of what it is to be in recreation and parks, and the long hours, and um, the late nights and things like that, it's so rewarding, and it's just extremely meaningful, and you really can meet some of the greatest people.
Mm.
I didn't mention it, but I pulled Chris over to Mebane with us. He's now our recreation superintendent. So
Wow.
love having him and our whole team here. But it's really all about connection with people, and the
Yep.
difference that you can make for a community.
Yeah. Well, man, look, I appreciate you so much for coming onto the Daily Parks and Rec show and sharing your story and how you had that great college intern experience and how it led into looks like a great career for you. So appreciate all the work that you're doing. But thank you
Yeah.
for coming on the show today.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. This has been great.
Yeah. And I'll see you. You said you're going to NRPA here in a few weeks, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep.
You got it.
Well, I will see you there. And again, I appreciate all the work that you're doing for Parks and Rec, and thanks for creating a great example for others to follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for what you're doing. This is fantastic and something that our industry really needs. So, thank you for taking the time to share our stories, and hopefully, like you said, inspiring others to take this as a career and serve their communities.
Yeah, well, we're not going to quit. We're going to keep building this thing until it's just part of all the other network we can consume, but it'll be all about Parks and Recreation. So thank you.
Love it. Have a great day.
All right. Yeah. Take care, Aaron. Bye. All right. So that was God, I love the story of how he tells about how he got into Parks and Rec. And there's I think it's a great example of how if you just take the opportunities that are put in front of you and just go with it and all the different connections you can make along the way, and then how he found himself into leading his current community. So really appreciate his story and him coming online and telling us about it. Okay, so as I said before, we are going to NRPA convention. We're going to be interviewing people for 15 to 20 minutes. I think we're up to almost 30 interviews. So if you happen to see us, we are just, even if you don't want to come online, just come up to us and just say hello. We would love to meet a lot of you guys in person. I know I've interviewed 500 people. This is well over 500 people now. coming up on our 240th episode here as we try to grow this media company for Parks and Recreation. As we enter into what's called phase 3 is where we really work with strategic partnerships to create content for the Parks and Rec industry. If you are a vendor in Parks and Recreation and would like to help us this is kind of a heavy lift, creating an entire media company, 24/7 network for the industry, but I think it's desperately needed. And I think, Parks and Recreation is one of the hidden gems of the entire American market as a place that just brings massive value into our communities. And so we really want to highlight the work they're doing, but also, in addition to highlighting the work they're doing, create valuable content for the industry to share all the wisdom that's across the nation, rather than having them just kind of siloed. Because after creating this show and interviewing so many people, I'm like, God, there is so much wisdom to be shared. And one thing I love and appreciate about the Parks and Rec industry is there are no such things as best kept secrets. This is a very connected industry that shares. If something's working and they're doing well, and you find somebody or network somebody and you're like, man, I noticed you have a great farmer's market. How did you do it? How did you launch it? They're like, here's the playbook. Here's everything we've been doing. And they're really good about that. And so hopefully we can create almost this evergreen content to share all these wisdom and tricks of the trade and stuff, and kind of make it a home for people to come and listen and learn, educate themselves, in addition to highlighting the careers and the success stories and the journeys of our Parks and Rec professionals. So this is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman, with the daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. After the regular leadership series, we have our U Sports Mastery Show with Aaron Locks. And again, if you see us at the NRPA convention, please stop by, say hello. Love to meet y'all in person. And everybody have a safe trip and safe travels as we prepare to all descend on Orlando. But we'll see y'all there. Y'all have a great day. Love you guys. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion Parks and Rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move Parks and Rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.